Grab yourself a quarantini and sit down with Tim Atwood today on the Music Universe podcast. Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm good, man. How about you?
Oh, I am grand. This has been a really, really interesting week.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Put it this way, I'm sitting here, it's a Sunday, I'm wearing a Grinch t-shirt, eating a Easter Reese's egg. I mean, nothing matters anymore.
Wait a minute. You got two
holidays. Jesus holidays.
Okay, I kind of dig it. I'm just wearing a sweatshirt and jeans, and it's not too bad temperature-wise outside, I guess. But we're just doing our best to stay in.
And, we talked about all of this COVID-19 coronavirus crap like 3 weeks ago. And we were like, what's happening? Everything's falling apart. And now that was when everything was in motion to fall apart and to shut down and all that. Now we're seeing the stasis. I took a live look last night at Times Square. You can do that on YouTube.
Yeah.
4 people walking through. 4. At
God.
Midnight on a Saturday night in Times Square.
In the city that never sleeps.
In the city that never sleeps. But I have to say, I'm about as far away from Times Square as I want to be right now. We came back to Pennsylvania. I was sent home. As I mentioned, I have another job. Media is my life and my 9 to 5. I work in an office in Manhattan. And they sent me home on a Tuesday. They said, your position, you can work from home. I said, great. And I came back, and I said to Max, I said, let's go to Pennsylvania. He was like, This was a Tuesday. By Wednesday, my parents had called and said, you guys are coming home, right? We're coming to get you.
Yeah,
and, not only was there no room in the apartment for me to be there and do work, and all of us who, and him to be able to do his thing, it's just safer to be here in a house where I haven't left the property. I left the property once, but even then I didn't get out of the car.
I was about to ask if you've even left.
Very little. My dad had...
You've been there 2 weeks?
It'll be 2 weeks on Wednesday.
Wow.
Technically, I'm supposed to quarantine. I'm actually supposed to really technically be on quarantine because about a week after we left, it came down that people who have left New York, quote unquote, recently need to quarantine, need to not really go to anywhere in public. And It was interesting. I have to give a shout out to this store. Their name is escaping me, and I will find it and I will mention it. But this store where I live, it's an electronics store, but they're also they're a media services company. So if like a radio goes out, if a radio station has an issue or a local TV station has an issue, they're the guys, or they're at least one of the guys available to help. And so I went to their website and they said, our showroom is closed, meaning what we can sell you, microphones and cords and stuff, but our services are open. And we had arranged these interviews, and I said, look, I work in media. I said, what I'm able to do from home are these podcasts. I said, and we kind of left New York in a rush. I don't have everything that I typically would have. I said, I need these cords. And the guy, he was excellent about it. He said, okay. I told him what I needed. He said, I'll call you back. I have an idea. So he calls me back. He goes, you can pay for it over the phone. We'll put it in the back of our van. You or someone else can come and pick them up, and we don't have to interact. You don't have to touch anything. You can just get the equipment you need. So I really appreciated that. And they actually sold me some heavy-duty cords. I'm using a phone cord that's about the thickest phone cord I've ever used. I really like it. It's very worth it.
I knew you were up to something because you called me. And you're like, I'm going to call you back. And so I waited around. Like, okay. He's usually pretty good about that. I don't know, 30 minutes comes. You call me back. Like, oh, yeah, I had to run it. Like, what? That's crazy. But it's really cool. It's super cool that they were accommodating for that because we got a slew of interviews lined up, and we needed to make sure we had all the right gear to make these happen.
We do, and we will be announcing those names really, really soon. I'm sure Buddy you'll be doing a
Probably
Facebook
one at a time, because you know how that
one
goes.
at a time.
When
Yeah,
things happen
there's
at the
one
last
that I
minute
want to
and-
do live next week that we're working on, but we don't know if that's going to happen or not. So this isn't any official announcement. I'm just saying I want to copy all the other artists and broadcasters out there who are doing something while we're all sitting around at home and do one of these live. And in my 6 years of doing podcasts, I've never actually done a streamed live show. I've done stuff on stage, but I've never done anything broadcast over the internet live.
Yeah, it'll be fun if we make that happen. But we've got to iron out a few things, and we just have a couple days if we're going to do that. So
Yeah.
We'll
So
see what
let's talk about the interview we did on Thursday. Mr. Tim Atwood, he was a hoot, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, I don't think I've interviewed someone quite as hooty as him. It's pretty pretty cool guy. For those who aren't familiar with him, he was the house piano player at the Grand Ole Opry. He's got over 8,500 performances to his name.
It's amazing.
It is.
I'm the kind of person, I don't know about you, but I wonder about those people. We did 2015, my 21st birthday party. It wasn't Vegas. I'd gone to Vegas when I was 20, not 21. 2015, I turned 21. Where did my parents take me? Nashville.
Yeah.
We didn't get into the Bluebird. I was livid. I was just beside myself. But one thing we did get to do is we got to go to the Grand Ole Opry, and we did the VIP tour, where you go behind the scenes.
Yeah,
and
I've done that.
Go inside all the dressing room. Well, in their little alcove next to the stage was the band. The whole house band was just there. They were right there. And we waved to them, talked to them for a minute, and then we saw them on stage because we got to watch the first act. It was the Gatlin Brothers. We got to watch them from the side of the stage. We didn't get to go in the bleachers, but we watched from backstage.
Well, hey, that's a better seat right there, in my opinion.
And you get your picture taken while you're backstage at the Opry, and there's people performing behind you when you turn to the camera. So,
cool.
That's that. And so I've known that it's been a house band. I know that's how they do it. But he really talked about, you'll hear, how they would have to do stuff on the fly, and it takes a certain kind of caliber of musician to do that.
And that's what was so surprising to me about that job, because yes, in studio you are required to listen to a song once and then go, you write your charts and then go perform it as if you've always played it. But to hear that actually happened, and we're not going to reveal any more details on it. You have to listen to the whole interview to hear how that came about. But and hear who the act was, because he does mention them. But pretty cool to actually have to have done that on numerous occasions. And yes, it is nerve-wracking, because I've not been at the Grand Ole Opry performing, but when I've performed, sometimes they just throw stuff at you. It's like, oh, where are we going? But you just go with the flow, and you just got to get up and do it. But it's pretty cool. And when all my years in Nashville, which I'll say 2, because that's how long I lived there, I did tour the Grand Ole Opry, and it was pretty exciting to see, all their lockers and everything. If you've never done it, you need to do it at least once, and check it out. And little Jimmy Dickens, his was out of order, because they're always alphabetized, but because he was so small, they had his where he could reach it. So it was pretty interesting in some of the details that they did. But I did it when there wasn't an Opry going, so I didn't get to see anyone perform, but still pretty cool to stand in that circle.
What was in order? What was in alphabetical order?
Their lockers.
Ah, right.
Yeah. But his was out of order because of his stature.
Yeah, and you should go, if you ever get out to Nashville again, you should go tour it again, because I saw it post-renovation.
Oh, yeah. I'll definitely
From the
have
floods.
to. Oh, yeah, because I forgot about it. I had left right before those... No. Yeah, I left right before those floods happened. So I bet my apartment, because there was a creek behind it, I bet it got flooded pretty badly, because the whole town was just... I cried, because it wasn't the Nashville that I knew when I left.
Yeah. It's powerful, powerful stuff, and wonder how this is changing them too. You know?
You know, it's totally weird to not get tour announcements right now, or the tour announcements we're getting are rescheduled shows. No one's ever seen anything like it, and I know Tim talks about that a little bit as well because he's focused on his solo work now.
Hmm.
And I think that'll be a fun thing for people to check out here. But just to kind of let you know, he's also a member of the world famous Wheeling Jamboree. He's a Josie Awards Musician's Lifetime Achievement Award. That was awarded this year. He was honored by the Congressional Record for contributions to country music in Washington, D.C. a couple years ago. Just a slew of awards, and of course, the major accomplishment is the 8,500 performances at the Opry.
All right, here is our interview with Tim Atwood.
Oh, I'm doing great. All things considered, I'm hunkered down at my house at Woodwood. We're kind of hunkered down here, me and Roxanne and the dog and cat. So just enjoying each other.
As long as you got your pets, you're set, right?
Yeah, everything's good. We went out and got extra toilet paper today, so we're in good shape.
At least you can find some. I'm in California. I haven't been able to find any.
Oh no. Well, maybe I need to send you a 12 pack.
There we go. Thanks.
So, are you getting restless? Is it because I find with musicians, sometimes it's just hard to put it down. Are you getting restless, or aren't you there yet?
I am getting restless. I'm an entertainer, so I love to be out in front of people and entertaining and singing and telling jokes and what have you. We did do a live stream the other day on Wednesday, and we had a 2-hour concert, and it was myself and Tim Rushlow, T. Graham Brown, David Frizzell, Wade Hayes, Brian White, Ronnie McDowell, Lulu Roman, and the girl from Inside Edition, Megan Alexander, was our host. But it's terrible to tell a couple jokes, and there's only 3 people in there, and they've heard them before. They don't laugh. It's not near as satisfying as a crowd.
Well, I'm seeing that over 260,000 country fans tuned into that.
Yeah, there was over 272,000, and of course we're all stuck at home. But that's the only way we can entertain people. That's what we need to do.
Indeed.
Indeed. So
let me ask you, 38
let me
years
ask you,
on the Grand Ole
38
Opry.
years on the
38
Grand Ole
years,
Opry.
that's incredible. Are you
38
still
years.
with
That's
them? I'm not
incredible.
quite
Are
clear
you
on
still
that. Do you
with them?
still
I'm not quite
perform
clear on
over
that.
at
Do
the
you
Opry
still
as the house
perform
band?
over at the Opry as the house band?
No, I am no longer in the house band. In 2014, I decided that I wanted to go out and do my own thing. I had watched Jimmy Dickens and Porter Wagner, Minnie Pearl, and Roy Acuff and Jeannie City. I watched all these people entertain, and that was just an education for me. So when I go out now, that's the kind of entertaining I do. I'm going to sing a couple songs, and we'll tell a couple jokes, and we'll tell a couple stories. And so I miss doing the Opry in some ways, but in a lot of other ways, I'm really enjoying being able to uh, let my personality shine rather than just be in the background.
Totally get that.
Now, back to the Opry though. What's it like to have had 8,500 performances?
Well, it's amazing, really. I look back and it's amazing how fast life goes. It was just a blink. Little things that happened that really made me appreciate that job. I worked with Mr. Roy Acuff whenever he was alive, and I took my dad with me one day. And my dad was never one of those. He wasn't a real gushy guy. He never told you that he loved you or nothing like that. He was pretty hardcore. But I was playing Wabash Cannonball with Roy Acuff, and I looked back, and he's sitting on one of the pews on the stage, and he's crying. And I thought, he doesn't have to tell me that he loves me. I can see that he loves me.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, and just like Minnie Pearl was such a great friend. I love Minnie Pearl. She had told me years before. She said, "You don't need to be here. You need to be in Las Vegas or somewhere." She said, "You're too much of an entertainer to sit back and play for other people." But I stayed home and I raised my kids, and I got to sleep in my own bed every night. And now I go out and travel whenever I can. Of course, it's not possible right now, but I'm looking forward to the chance when I do get to go back. But Miss Minnie used to come out on stage, and I was about 24, 25. I had this full, thick beard, and she would come out on stage and she'd go, "Look at him, girls. Ain't he purty?" And of course, I would be so embarrassed by that. Then she'd walk over, she'd make me stand up, she'd grab me by the face, kiss me on the lips, and then turn around and go, "You know how it is, girls. You don't mind going through a little brush to get to a picnic." So he was such a great spirit and great soul.
Oh my gosh. If I could interview anyone alive or dead, that'd be her. I mean, she was just phenomenal. And then, her name's on a lot of medical buildings down there in Nashville, Sarah Cannon. And her legacy is just, will be that. Not only her humor, but her heart and her ability to have that lasting impression for the medical community.
It seemed like she connected with every person she came in contact with. She just had an amazing ability to just make you feel like that you've known her your whole life. She was such a great spirited person. So yeah, things like that I wouldn't trade for the world. I remember working one night with Jeannie Seeley, and I'm playing. We're doing some song. It's up tempo. It's really fast, and I've got this piano solo. And buddy, I am cocked and ready. I'm ready to do this solo and impress somebody. And right in the middle of it, she leans down to me and she says, "Atwood, if you make love as good as you play piano, you're awesome." I forgot what key I was doing, what song we were doing. And of course, I told my wife that story, and she went to Jeannie. The first thing she said to Jeannie was, "Oh, he's a much better piano player."
Ouch.
Ouch, indeed.
Exactly.
Well,
Oh, that's an awesome story.
I want to circle back to your father and how you became a piano player. And you mentioned your father. It was, kind of a stoic person. Did you have a supportive family in musical endeavors, or was that kind of a rebellion? Was that a tense thing?
No, I grew up with a musical family. All my dad's brothers and sisters played and sang. They all played like banjo, guitar, mandolin, piano. Everybody played something. Everybody sang harmony. But my dad also knew that it was a tough life in order to make a living being a musician. Matter of fact, he kind of halfway discouraged me moving to Nashville. But I told him, I said, "Dad, I've got to go at least try and see what happens." And I worked on the road with Mel Street for about 2 weeks. I worked with Jim Ed Brown and Helen Cornelius for about 3 years. And then I went out on the road with Lynn Anderson for about 2 weeks. And then I started playing in the Opry staff band.
How'd you get that gig?
The Opry gig?
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Whitehurst, who was the staff piano player at the time, I ended up being his substitute anytime he couldn't be there. And he was so busy at the time, I really started working in the staff band at the Opry in 1980. We also did a little TV show called Nashville Now on the TNN network with Ralph Emery. So I did that. In order for Mr. Whitehurst to keep both jobs, I would work one Friday night at Nashville Now, and he would work the Opry. Then the next week, I would work the Opry, and he would work Nashville Now. And that's, like I said, that's how I really got my foot in the door, was with him. We were doing a TV show with Jim Ed Brown called Nashville on the Road with Jerry Clower and Wendy Holcomb and Helen Cornelius. And Mr. Whitehurst was the music director. And he took a liking to me, and he's the one that kind of put me in that seat at the Opry. And he told me one day, "Just keep going back till I tell you not to." That was 38 years.
Love it. I love it. I wish the world worked like that today.
I'm not from Nashville. I'm actually from Missouri, but I did live in Nashville for a couple years and made my way. Opry wasn't going on, but made my way to that stage, and that's so cool to actually be standing there. I can only imagine what it's like to be playing there, for that to be your job, to go there night after night, rehearsing, playing, whatever you're doing, and to actually be able to just play. That has to be a huge, huge thing for you, to be able to just, hey, I get to go do this, just be able to stay calm and go have fun.
Yeah, I think what was so cool about it was a lot of times we never had the opportunity to even run the song. We did rehearse a lot of times. I remember the first night Trace Atkins was on. He was a last minute ad, and he wasn't even in the building yet, but they said he was coming. And Jimmy Capps, who was the rhythm guitar player at the Opry, he wrote a chart, and we listened to it as he wrote the chart. So that's the only rehearsal we had. We walked out on stage. They put that chart down in front of us, and we played that song with Trace Atkins that night. And I'm talking about a 3-minute look at. You never got an opportunity, but you would have thought we'd been playing that song our whole lives, because it was just a talented, gifted group of musicians that could pull off just about anything you threw in front of them.
That's the beauty I love about Nashville is you have those guys that they just look at that chart, hear that song once, and yeah, that's what they do in the studio. And I didn't realize they did that at the Opry on occasion, or quite often rather. So that's a pretty good accomplishment.
Yeah, it can be a little nerve-wracking. You took it serious, but not serious enough that you beat yourself up if something didn't go exactly right. You knew that if you'd have really had an opportunity to nail it down, you would do that. It was such a great group of players. Phenomenal Weldon Myrick and Jimmy Capps and Spider Wilson. There were such great players in that band that played on so many hit records. They just knew what to do. And like I said, I started working with the Opry staff band when I was 22 years old. So I got a huge education really quickly from the best. And I am truly blessed. God blessed me with that job. It was a great job. It still means a lot to me. But going out now and doing my thing really makes me happy.
That's great. I mean, what did that time at the Opry, to transition to your stuff, what did that time at the Opry teach you about being an entertainer, being the person in front?
Well, I think the main thing is a lot of entertainers will talk at you. But Mr. Acuff and Miss Minnie and Porter Wagner and those people, they talk to you. They talk to you like you were sitting in their living room. They didn't talk at you. Like I said, a lot of entertainers do that. They talk to you. They were friends, They made friends everywhere they went, and people loved them. And Miss Minnie said one time, just go out there and love them, and they'll love you back.
Oh, nice.
And I'll never forget her telling me that. Just go out there and love them, and they'll love you back. And I thought, what a great statement. And I try to do that now. When I walk out on stage, I automatically assume everybody loves me because I automatically love them.
That's awesome.
That's great. And it takes a true talent to be able to do that and to be able to see it, because sometimes people get up there and they're just so stiff. You wonder, what are you doing on stage? Get loosen up.
Exactly.
So, yes, sirree. So how hard has this been on you and your touring schedule, this whole COVID-19, this whole epidemic? How has it impacted you and what you're doing now?
Well, it's huge. Last year at this time of year, we probably had, 30 or 40 dates that we worked. And since this pandemic has taken over, we haven't had any live work whatsoever, because you're only allowed so many people, and all these shows that we've had booked for this year have canceled. It's just the unknown.
The year.
And so, it's kind of a tough year this year. And like I said, I'm used to being out in front of people and trying to make them forget their troubles and tell a joke and make them laugh and make them forget about all the troubles of the day. But as it stands right now, we can't do that. And we're having to find other avenues in order to go out and entertain. And it's just tough. I mean, it really is. I miss going out and meeting people. I always enjoyed shaking and howdying with everybody after it was all over. And a lot of people, they just want you to listen to them. You know, they want to tell you their story. And it's funny because I want to hear their story because everybody has their own story. And it's really been tough. I've been taking a lot of this time working on a new CD. I figured now's the time when everybody's off the road and not working. Now's the time that we can go into the studio and put a new CD together. So when things do get back to normal, I have new product out.
There you go. That's a way to look at it. Since you mentioned your tour dates are canceled for the year, I do see them scheduled through like Halloween. So how many were affected? So that way we could have the listeners, check out your website and see what they might be able to attend coming up once this is all done.
Well, we need to update because we haven't put the cancellations down yet. There have been many. I am really hoping that we get back to normal. What will be our normal at that time. I'm hoping that somehow, this will be over. I know October 31st, I'm supposed to be doing the Midnight Jamboree, which is the second longest running radio show on WSM. And I'm looking forward to Halloween because I always like to dress up and do that. But I'm hoping it's way before that we can get back out and start entertaining and meeting with the people again. I've already decided this year, whenever I go to the Midnight Jamboree, I'm going to get me a Superman costume. With all the muscles built in, by golly, I'm not going to work out that much.
There you go.
So my question for you is, what inspires you when you go in to do a new album? What kind of country music, what era, what artists, what do you draw from?
Well, it's really kind of a mixed bag of stuff. I like all the older stuff, with Merle Haggard and George Jones. I also like Delbert McClinton and people like that. So a lot of my stuff is a mixture. I love the Texas country swing things. I like all kinds of music, so therefore I don't want to put myself in one little box and go, I'm just a country musician or, I'm an entertainer. I believe a good song is a good song. And I found some really good songs. And on this new CD, there's a new writer by the name of Ethan Phillips, real young boy, about 23. And he came to us and he had 2 songs that just knocked me out. So they're on there. My wife and I, Roxanne and I, have written 2 songs that's going to be on there. But like I said, I like so much variety of music because being a musician first, I have all those backgrounds with horn bands like Tower of Power and Average White Band, but I also have Roy Acuff and Wabash Cannonball. It's a wide variety of stuff. I try to appeal to not just one specific group of people. I try to get everybody involved. I think music is music, and if it's good, it's good. It doesn't matter what genre you want to put it in. If it's a good song, it's a good song.
What makes a good entertainer? You are an entertainer, and I could tell just by talking to you that you are an amazing entertainer. What makes a good entertainer beyond just the musicianship?
Well, I think being able to connect with people, little stories and jokes and things. I actually work a lot at churches. I have a very strong faith foundation. I grew up playing in churches when I was young. And I always tell the story about I was working at church one day, and at the end of the service, the preacher was in the back of the doorway, and people were going out and shaking hands. And this little boy ran up to him and put $5 in his hand. And the preacher said, "Bobby, you don't need to do that." And Bobby said, "I think I do, My dad said, "You're the poorest preacher we've ever had."
That's funny.
That's classic.
Yeah, but stuff like that, I just feel like if you could relate to people who work a 9 to 5 job or whatever every day, and being able to connect with them on some level, we're all connected. I mean, that's just the way it is. And it's kind of tough for me right now. I'm used to going up and seeing people and hugging necks and shaking hands. I met a musician friend of mine the other day at the Dollar General store, and I went to reach and shake his hand, and he pulled back, and we elbow bumped. It's just a whole different time period right now. But I do believe God will see us through this whole thing. I just feel like that everything's going to be all right. It's going to be, because it has been, and it will be again.
Oh, I totally agree. And to segue to that, you're for the fifth year, you're coming back to the 2021 Country Music Cruise. Do you have any thoughts on any? I know all that stuff's coming over from a lot of the cruise ships. Does that scare you at all, being in what we're facing right now, and then going on a cruise next year to perform?
Well, I really don't think that it's. I think by then we will have what we need. That is some of the most fun I've ever had play. Matter of fact, that's some of the most fun I've ever had with my clothes on. It's just been the most fun playing music. I do a dueling piano thing with a girl named Chrissy Sparks, and we have back-to-back grand pianos. We're looking at each other, and we just play songs, requests. But on those cruises, we have like Larry the Cable Guy, Jeff Foxworthy, the Oak Ridge Boys, Pam Tiller, Tanya Tucker, Linda Davis. The list goes on and on. We usually have about 15 major artists on these cruises, and there's only like 1,900 people are allowed to be on the passengers. And so if you're there for the music. Music starts about 9 o'clock in the morning and goes till about 1:30 in the morning, all over the ship. We have been very blessed and fortunate. We've never had any kind of problems medically, no sickness or anything like that. It's been really good for years. I've goes, but I just feel like that we'll have everything under control, and it gives you an opportunity to get away. Like in my case, it was 20 cruises this past week. I thought, boy, this is a tough life, but I'm one lucky man.
Yeah, definitely. And next year you got Josh Turner, Mark Chestnut, Lee Greenwood, Oak Ridge Boys, Sawyer Brown, Mickey Gilley, Jeannie Seeley, Jimmy Fortune, Johnny Lee, Asleep at the Wheel, Mo Pitney, and Wade Hayes, just to name a few that will be joining that with you. And fans can actually save a little money if they do TIMFAN, TIMFAN, with exclusive savings when they actually book that trip. So sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds like you're going to have even more fun when you actually get out of your house and go do that.
And it sounds like you'll have new music as well.
I will. I'm so excited about this new CD. Like I said, this is my fourth CD since I left the Opry. But this one, for some reason, has really got my interest. I love the variety of songs, and I'm really excited about this one. I was excited about the others, but I guess I'm just at that age where I'm like a little kid all over again, because I think this is the one that people will go, you know what, that Atwood guy ain't that bad. He's pretty good. He's got some good stuff going on.
When can we expect it released?
Somewhere around August, September, right around that time period. We started it back in November, and it takes quite a while to do it, and to do it right, because I really do want to do it right. I just feel like this is going to be the best CD that I've ever done thus far.
We're really looking forward to it, and I can't wait to hear it. And I hope all of this free time that we now find ourselves with means you can work on it and maybe get it out sooner than you're expecting.
That would be great. I would love to be able to do that. Also, I'd like to mention real quick, I just found out, let's have prayers for Joe Diffie. They just found out today that he has COVID-19, and we cruised together last year on that country music cruise, and he came down and sang a couple songs and it's just two pianos. There's no band. It's a very intimate setting. and
Mhm.
it's really cool. But just remember Joe Diffie in your prayers.
We certainly
Yeah,
will.
I just got. I just saw that right before we got on this call, and I saw him a few years ago at the fair, and excellent singer and performer. And so best wishes for Joe. And Jackson Brown contracted it, as well as Bon Jovi keyboardist David Bryan. They all three are dealing with that right now. So we hope they recover quickly.
Good. I agree with you.
Well, you stay safe out there, sir, and we really, really appreciate your time. And thank you for coming on and spending a little bit of this quarantine isolation time with us.
Well, I sure appreciate the opportunity, and y'all stay safe. And God bless you, and thank you for all that you do.
All right, Matt. So, we just heard Tim Atwood, and we appreciate his time with us. He had mentioned thoughts and prayers out to Joe Diffie following his diagnosis with COVID-19 on Friday. That interview was recorded on Friday. And, I think we all were in shock to hear Sunday that Joe actually passed from that. And we actually had cut a different ending for this, but we couldn't we couldn't air it without sending our condolences to Joe's family. And one man, it was just a shocker to get that press release. I was really prepping lunch, I guess you could say, on the West Coast when that came through, and I stopped in my tracks.
And you did a Facebook thing with your TV behind you.
Yeah.
With it playing, and
Yeah.
I saw somebody, one of my friends said on Facebook, time to prop him up against a jukebox.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think somebody else sent that out too, a couple celebs. But I mean, I just turned Joe Diffie's YouTube channel on, and I almost cried, dude. Like, I was not really a huge fan growing up, but as I got older, I really started discovering more of his older stuff. He was a 90s guy anyway. I had several of his albums, but I had never seen him in concert until 2018, and I'm glad I did. And, that was one that I was going to cover. I did cover for the website, and I'll that link is up. I did a concert review at the fair locally, and it almost didn't happen. A lot of behind the scenes stuff goes into prepping even people to go and review shows, and we just didn't hear back in time. But because I really wanted to see the show, and I really, I know that they did their damnedest to get me a press slot. So I went and covered it anyway, and I'm so glad I did, man. I was front row for the most part.
yeah. How was his voice?
Oh, dude, it was unbelievable. Even at his age, I think he was like 59 at the time. Still could just like cover so much room in that, and just crystal clear. He came out with he opened with Third Rock from the Sun, went through all the hits. The only one he didn't perform that I was really kind of surprised was Honky Tonk Attitude. He did not perform that. But all the other songs that I wanted to see, he covered them, man. It was great. He told a few jokes. I've got some stuff out there on social media. You can check us out at the Music Uni, or check me out at Buddy Yon. IAHN is the last name. And, just check out the review as well, because he was just, I've heard nothing but great things about him.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get into his music earlier. I've heard some things now with all of this going on, with his passing, and it's like, wow, he really was great. The way I knew him was the I think Jason Aldean song, 1994.
Yeah, and I don't want to say unfortunately. I don't want to say unfortunately people became aware of him from that, but I'm glad they did if they didn't know him, because that was he was already past his hit making years at that point, and for that to song to come out, and I'm not a rap guy, you know that, you all know it that know me, but I do like that song, and that was super cool that he was mentioned, and it really brought out a new, younger audience to him, and I'm so glad he experienced that. And I'm just everyone's sad So upsetting. And one person we never meant to pass up either. Just we haven't recorded any since. Kenny Rogers. He passed away a week prior to that from natural causes at 81. So we want to send thoughts and prayers out to his family as well. And as of this recording, John Prine or Prine, I'm honestly not quite sure how to pronounce it.
Prine.
It is Prine.
Prine.
He's in the hospital with it, but have not reported.
It's not looking good.
Actually, he's
good.
come. I didn't get to report it yet, but it looks like his wife says he's stable now. He was in critical care, but now he's stable. So I know he's like 73, so his age plays a big factor in that too. So hopefully he'll overcome it and be home soon.
Yeah, well, his wife has it now too. Because she's been around him. So, it just keeps spreading, and just stay home. People.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here to preach, but you're gonna see it everywhere. Stay home. I mean, I'm only running errands that are necessary too, like going to the store. What I'm a little upset about though, some of the stores that do allow drive up and stuff do not allow you to pick up your essentials because they're so overwhelmed with requests that you have to literally go in the store. I'm trying to avoid that at all possible, as I think everyone should at this point, because this thing's extended out through like May 1st. It's crazy.
Yeah. And, I have a Kenny Rogers story just to end on an interesting note. When he would do his Christmas tours, he would hire, or not, I don't know if hire's the right word, but he would look for school choirs, people who were in chorus in school, and he'd put the call out for little kids to come and be a part of a kids choir on his Christmas shows, local. And so my friend in elementary school, shout out to Kirby, she knew that I was a country music fan. Oh my gosh, we must have been in May. I don't even know if it was 6th grade. I mean, it was a while ago.
You're dating me, man.
And I'm dating myself. And 6th grade for me, probably what? College for you? No, I'm kidding.
Probably adulthood, yeah.
No. But so she invites me and my mom. They get however many tickets to come and see, and we were like 3rd row for Kenny Rogers. Mm-hmm. And we were told, okay, there's an intermission, because I think like everybody else, he did a standard half and then a Christmas half. So you got to play the gambler, you got to do you got to do Islands in the Stream, and then you do Christmas. Well, in between, we were told, okay, go backstage. And I think her mom, took me back to a little alcove. Like, in the hockey arenas, how you can, there's the 4 corners in the hockey arenas that are the alcoves.
Oh, yeah.
That are like towards back to the locker rooms.
Yeah.
We went back there. He was shaking everybody's hand, but we were not like invited up to go into that line. So I got to see him greet all of the people, but I don't think I got to meet him directly. Oh. Although I believe that Kirby's mom had been told, your guests will get to meet Kenny Rogers. But it didn't happen.
Right.
So it was still a fun show nonetheless. I don't remember much from it. I was so young. But yeah, he's somebody I would have loved to see. I did not know he was in as declining health as he was. So,
well, I mean, they had, over the years, he had even canceled his final tour dates a few years back, but they said it was from natural causes. So.
Yeah, no, I believe that. I mean, even to watch his last duet with Dolly, that's up on YouTube. He wasn't moving so much. He still had a great voice, but you could tell he was like there, but not. And I mean, no disrespect when I say that. I mean, it was great that he got to have the send-off that he did, because oftentimes when people have a big send-off like that, like George Strait doing the AT&T Stadium thing in Texas, here he comes a couple of years later in Vegas. This really was the end for Kenny Rogers, and that'll go down in history.
Yeah, and coming up, some TV appearances. A&E has a biography series. It kind of resparked with Garth last year, but they've got Kenny Rogers, of course, Dolly Parton, and a Willie Nelson concert too. So if you're big into that, check it out on A&E. Check your local listings for those coming up.
Sad week and a half for country music. Excuse me, my water bottle plopped. Sad week and a half for country music, but you know what? We'll come out of it stronger, and we'll always have the music.
That's the only way we're gonna get through it. Just stay home and crank up your music.
Indeed. All right, for the Music Universe podcast, I'm Matt.
And I'm Buddy. Thanks for listening.